Numeric patterns in ancient Europe. Fairy tales in 3. The number 3 dominates fairy tales. Some have likened it to the 3 stages of childhood, since many fairy tales are coming-of-age stories. The hero of a story may encounter 3 maidens or crones, later mistaken as the cripple goddess. Other stories have 3 judges in the forms of dwarves or giants that judge the worth of the adventurer. Often there are 3 beasts who help the hero, usually one representing water, one air, and one the forest. There are often 3 tokens or prizes that will lend aid to the person to win a spouse. There are 3 basic body types and the trinity of heart, mind, and body. Systems that have 5 elements often interweave these into 3 body types. Gods and goddesses often have 3 faces. It was common in Europe for gods to have 3 states, and Christianity took advantage of this with their Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Prizes and tokens can also represent the body, mind, and spirit, or emotions. The person who has developed these aspects of their self can go on to adulthood, often seen as the 4th state. The fourfold way. The fourfold system shows up in myths, mostly in the form of castes or social classes into which one was born. In India, the East was for rulers, the South for farmers, the West for slaves and workers, and the North for priests, but also for those shamans living on the edge of society for which India is so famous. It is interesting that in Europe these castes are shifted. The North is for rulers, the East for farmers, the South for workers, and the West for priests. There is a very interesting blessing which states, Michael to the right of me, Gabriel to my left, Uriel to the front of me, Raphael to my back. If we position these angels and match them to the cardinal stars, we see another image revealed, that of the Sphinx. The Sphinx had 4 angels mixed into it, often in very different ways. One was the front of the bull, body of the lion, the wings to the back, and the head of a man. Not only do many representations of the Sphinx correspond to directions, but also to the social system. The farmers work with cattle, the ruler is the head, the body is strong and supple, and the wings are of the other world. Correspondences are merely patterns of connection that some see. I have connected various maps together based on 40 years of research. This map shows that many of these maps overlap well into a fourfold pattern. Many believe that spiritual development starts from a natural position based on birth, position, disposition, or nature. In this image, you can see that I have further integrated the seasons with the 4 stages of psychological development in children. I was surprised at how well these fit together. My seasonal map led very nicely to a map of magic or spiritual mythology combined with story, which has its roots in psychology, myth, and religion. Take a moment to look at this map, for it ties very closely into the tarot cards. In the South, we have herbalism and shape-shifting, powers that are associated with water in the body. The West is where the power of channeling comes with autumn and the emotions. Winter, the mind season of air, birds and spells. Spring is renewal, the awakening of life and family, farming and heroic deeds. Here you can see the lower suits of the cards. This may seem a leap, and the suits can be shifted around for other patterns. However, this is what I chose that seemed to fit the best. Diamonds would work in the West for emotions or in the North for thoughts, but I felt that diamonds or discs seemed to fit best with the merchant case, whose values are based in wealth and trade. In another map, I am showing you story types and how they also map well into the fourfold way. If you are curious, I have other articles and videos on plot and story and the fourfold way. If you have read these books, you can immediately get an intuition of their main characters and the central conflicts. The Last Unicorn, for instance, is not a romance, but the search for the last unicorn of her people and her struggle to save them. For and the center. I will show you again my map of the seasons, but you will see that there is a center. Almost all esoteric schools state that there are 4 sides to a center of the integrated spirit. I think of the individual path as 4 legs of the chair upon which the enlightened human can build a spiritual journey. What starts to get really intriguing is that the ancient world often divided countries into 4 territories with personalities of the 4 castes. Here you can see Ireland, Wales, and Brittany with these divisions. Looking further, here you can see that the ancient tales of Ireland even talk of the traits of the 4 provinces. This looks remarkably close to our fourfold map. What is funny to me is I didn't even color this map. In finding it, my own studies sat up and bit me, so to speak. I know that I was not just making up patterns, but uncovering ancient patterns. I was not alone. Many mythographers have taken other parts of lore of ancient Europe and placed them into the map. Here, Robert Graves does this with the ancient Celtic alphabet. Europeans made the medicine and health also fourfold. Here is a map of the humors, a map used by most medieval doctors. They believed that illnesses of the body were tied to personality. Many people talk about the pyramids as 4-sided figures. Like some of the old Celtic lore, Egyptian lore has a very non-Babylonian feeling to it. Personally, I find it unsatisfying that the Golden Dawn tends to mix up Egyptian, Babylonian, and Christian lore with that of ancient Israel and Greece. The pyramid is not 4-sided, but 5-sided, showing the rise of the spirit out of the fourfold society, which in ancient lore was the path of the king. First, let us look again at Ayurveda, as old as Egypt, where 3 was influenced by 5 elements. The 5th element was something no one could see or feel, ether. Even the word ethereal has come to mean the spirit world. The Chinese used the element metal instead of ether, but it was still white and still connected to breath and the lungs. In Tibetan Buddhism, the 5 colors show again. Trungpa Rinpoche takes the fourfold path as points of development and gave this path to important Buddhist schools in the West, complete with directions and personalities and animals. Another esoteric school of Islam, Sufism, also uses color to show the developing spirit and the seeker of enlightenment. And yet another popular image of the world has 5 continental areas mapped with color. This gets more interesting as we go back to the Celtic countries, where we see that there are 4 provinces, but there is a 5th central area of the king. In ancient times, the king was a person of all provinces and all learning, an integrated person of no allegiance or personality to the province, but allied with all. J.R.R. Tolkien, underestimated as a mythographer, deliberately made Middle-earth as a true myth of the English. He was well able to use 3, 4, and 5 in his backgrounds. I find his discussions of 5 peoples to also be attuned to the maps. I chose the 5 suits for the tarot cards because of my own studies into the fourfold way around the center, which seems to be a natural extension of the 4 fingers and a thumb, a basic human trait that makes us tool users. I did one deck of 4 suits, showing clearly the colors, seasons, and personalities of the fourfold way. These cards are clearly marked in ways that go beyond the shorthand glyphs of the 4 suits. However, my deeper Druidic decks, written in Gaelic, are 5-fold, with the 5th white suit being spiritual. Seven stars. Ancient Egypt has 6 gods and goddesses, which quickly became 12, but 7 comes out of Babylon. You could look at the planets of the night sky being 6, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and the moon, orbiting a 7th center, indicated by the ancient Hebrew 6-fold system around a center. But the Babylonians also incorporated the sun into their astrological calendars. The 7 days were taken up by classical peoples and moved over to other myths like the 7 graces, the 7 sisters, and the 7 deadly sins. In my magic app, I have 7 dragons of the realm of fire, talent, and emotion, ruled by 7 metals representing the 7 traps of the artists. The 13th warrior. Although the digital system is widespread today, we still use the ancient system of 12 for our months and to tell time. The number 10 is rare in myths, but the number 12 is everywhere. It was said that the 4 ancient provinces of the Celtic countries were divided into 3 parts, thus making 12. The 12 warriors of Roland was said to have influenced the 12 knights of the Round Table. However, whereas Roland's story is historical, the story of the Round Table resembles more a tale heavily influenced by the division of the countries ruled by the 13th. The number 13 has come to mean extreme ill fortune. This may be because in ancient times the king over the 12 provinces was a sacrificial king. It could also be that the lunar months were often 12 or 13 to make the calendar fit the solar year. This ancient myth may have influenced Christianity, wherein the sacrifice of Jesus as the king of 12 disciples became the one sacrifice to end the cycle of kings and their scapegoats. How many years? The number 20 plays a large part in counting, but the next number to heavily influence the ancients was the number 56 for the Metonic cycle. This cycle is a cycle of the moon and sun's positions against the stars, lasting 56 years. Every 56 years, the sun and the moon are in the same position in the night sky. If there is a full solar eclipse with the sun and the moon in the constellation Scorpio, in 56 years there will most likely be another. The Aubrey posts around Stonehenge Monument seems to indicate the Metonic cycle and has encouraged some to look at the monument as an astronomical calendar. The most interesting part of this cycle comes in its division into 3, or 19, 19, and 18. So similar to the number of letters in ancient alphabets. The pattern of eclipses is so regular that I wondered if it was used as a stellar calendar. The number of bright stars in the northern sky is also 20, and the ancient monuments could have easily been used to track stellar movements. Although we have many indications of 20, 19 seems to have been the preferred number to count on the hands and for the length of a generation.